Thursday, February 26th, 2026. It is 7 p.m. and this is a meeting of the Bolton Select Board. The first item on our agenda is one of our feel-good agenda items that we look forward to. And we have our fire chief here to make an announcement. Chief?
Good morning. Morning. I'm way off. Sorry about that.
You're more off than I am.
It's been a little bit of a long day. So I am here today with a very kind of happy announcement for the fire department. We have promoted the second deputy. It's Samantha Williams, who is going to be our primary EMS deputy. Samantha comes with us with a lot of experience. She is a nurse practitioner for some great time. It actually started with us as a third rider. She was doing the bridge program from RN to paramedic. A lot of experience as an EMT basic as well before making that transition. After the completion of her paramedic, decided to stay on with the department and has been a vital asset to the department as in the ALS program for the past couple of years. And this promotion is just proof that he continues to advocate for our patients, has a lot of experience with the Harvard cadets as the director over there, so brings the cadet end of it in. Also does train EMTs as her own program. So brings knowledge of education, cadet education, and overall operation and advanced medical care with her day-to-day business. So this was a perfect fit for the department as we just crested our 5th year at the paramedic level, and moving on to the kind of next journey as we more and more pre-hospital is available to the departments to deliver to our community. So Sam will be there to coordinate and educate the members for the future.
Well, thank you so much for the announcement, and we really look forward to seeing our new deputy chief out there. I don't see that she is on.
She may have been called. She was on call this evening, so it may have been called away on a call if she is not on. She was absolutely planning on being here, so she unfortunately probably got called away on an emergency.
All right. Well, we are certainly happy to have her out in the community. Any other select board members want to comment?
Just great news. Thanks for sharing it, Chief.
Thank you.
Congratulations to her.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the announcement and thank you for your time, Chief.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. The next item on the agenda is an annual entertainment license request from the Bolton Bean and Out of the Woods restaurant. I see Randy Patterson is here. Hi, Randy.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
So this is for an annual entertainment license. Do you just want to walk us through what you're looking for?
Yes. So we are Bolton Bean Inc. Owns the lease to the entire space that Bolton Bean, as well as Out of the Woods, DBA, Bolton Bean run out of. So we applied for the one license because we really only have one company that covers this whole space, one lease. Like my liquor license just covers all of this. My ASCAP license for some of like the licensing for the music itself is covered by the one company. And what we're looking to do for the past, we've been open for this September will be 10 years. We've been doing pretty much just in the coffee shop, Saturday mornings to Saturday afternoon. We'll have like maybe one person with a guitar, sometimes two. But we didn't really want to limit ourselves because we've also done like we've had like the jazz band come and they've played from Neshoba. We've had a couple other schools come, and this girl might play the violin, this gentleman might play, one guy had a flute, and like we kind of just didn't want to put ourselves in a box of what it would be, but most likely that's what it would be the Saturday mornings at the coffee shop, and then in the restaurant. We haven't had any music yet, as we haven't had the license, but in the future, if we do like a wine dinner or something and we want to have a little live entertainment that night, we wanted to be able to do that. And so we put it for both of the dining room spaces as well as both of our patios. And it would pretty much just be that type of thing for both places, maybe like one or two musicians with probably a guitar and a microphone type of operation. Both places, we really don't want it to, especially the restaurant, we really don't want it to take away from like the food. It's kind of more of just like an addition to the atmosphere. So we don't want it to be like the spotlight. We're not putting on concerts. We just want some entertainment. We don't have any TVs in the restaurant. So it's something for guests to watch and have a little bit more entertainment with.
Okay, thanks. So what I think we need to consider, there are a couple of paths that the select board can elect to take here. One of which is to vote to issue the license as you've requested. We can vote to issue the license with conditions, such as limiting the hours of operation and the noise levels and some constraints like that.
Sure.
We could vote to schedule a public hearing, which would give notice to abutters so that they could appear at a public hearing and give any input. And our fourth option is to grant a probationary license for a period of time and see how things go, and then kind of just reconsider whether to just grant the license outright or to do a public hearing. So I would be curious to hear from the other select board members what their thoughts are and what their concerns might be, if any, before we figure out how we're going to proceed. Bill, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share?
I do have one question, if you don't mind, Randy. The live entertainment at the restaurant, would that be both indoors and outdoors, or it would be just indoors?
It would most likely be one or the other. Our patio only accommodates, I think there's 30 seats, and the restaurant accommodates 78. I have an occupancy for. So most likely they'd be inside, but again, I just didn't want to put myself in a box if we did do something outside. And like to it, before this license came about, I had been doing some outdoor because I saw in it every year it'll be looked at if there was any noise complaints with the police and everything like that. So for 9 years we've been doing it, and in the summers, if it's a really nice summer day, we'll put the musician outside because a lot of people want to sit outside. So I just didn't want to just do indoor if it turns out everybody that comes in says, oh, can we get a seat outside, and now I have a musician playing to an empty room and everybody's sitting outside.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. I thought it was super helpful to hear you talk through what your vision is for this. When I look at the options that we have, I'll just say I'm inclined to vote to issue the license, maybe with just 2 or 3 small conditions. One is that I think designating a manager who could be reached during the entertainment hours, just in case like a neighbor or somebody does have some sort of a complaint.
Sure.
And then having you maintain a log, because you might hear of some things directly that don't make their way to the police department and vice versa. Now, let me just say, I'm not anticipating complaints because you haven't had any in 9 years, right? You guys doing a great job. But I think like we could take these two small steps and maybe also if you do have amplification, because I know your application checked off the amplification box. If you do that outside, maybe you have the speakers facing toward like instead of away.
Right.
But other than that, I think to me, I'd rather just grant you the license with the ability to do the variety of things you'd like to do. And then if, there's a problem down the road, we can always call a public hearing if we need to, but I don't see that we have any precedent to suggest that it's going to be an issue. So those are my thoughts, Kate.
Thanks, Brian. I generally tend to agree with you, Brian. You guys have been a great addition to the community. There haven't been any issues. We do have a letter from our acting police chief indicating that there have been no complaints or reports of violation. I think you guys are good in that respect. The only thing, and I appreciate your feedback, Randy, as to what you think, whether it would be any significant hardship to not have amplification after at 9 p.m. if it was outdoors. I'm just thinking, this could be school nights for kids. I don't really know how well the sound travels there. But would that be an undue hardship from your perspective?
I mean, I don't see us playing, like by then we'd probably be getting towards the end of the night anyway. Oftentimes the musicians will come like on Saturdays again, I've never done it with a restaurant. For Saturdays, we only have them come for typically 2 or 3 hours and it's only the peak times. So I probably wouldn't have them still be here past 9. If you guys want to feel, if you think that you want to put that in, I don't see a problem with it. That patio is on the back of the building. So like, for example, the construction at the Alta Valley, when I walk up onto our hill we have a shed up there to access different things. I can hear their huge cranes and stuff when they're working. But when I'm down below the hill and just out my back patio, I can't hear any of that. So I don't think that sound's really escaping the back area very well. It's also tucked behind the side of the building. So there's only thing directly behind us are those old horse fields in Florence Sawyer, and they would be closed when we're open. But that's neither here nor there.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're pretty well in agreement. I think that we don't need a public hearing at this point. If there were complaints or something, I think that's something that we could address in the future. So that being said, is there a motion to approve the annual entertainment license for Bolton Bean and Out of the Woods with the following restrictions? That they designate a manager to be contacted during events in the event of a problem, that they maintain a log of any complaints, that any speakers for amplification that are outdoors be set facing in, and that amplification cease by 9 p.m.
So moved.
I'll second it, but just a clarification, Kate, amplification outdoors to cease by
Outdoors.
9 p.m.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah. Just in
Yeah.
case they had an indoor amp, that should be fine till 11. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Okay, so you second that, Brian?
I do.
Okay. Roll call, Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So thanks, Randy.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
look
you,
forward to
Randy.
hearing the live music at Out of the
Okay.
Woods.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, our next agenda item is one of our other routine feel goods, which is Bolton Access TV. Is Nikki here? I think I saw her.
I am. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yep, yep, can hear you, no problem. How are you, Nikki?
Sorry, I'm on my phone. I'm streaming the advisory meeting on my juggling two things.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for being here. Do you want to walk us through all the new and exciting developments at Bolton Access TV?
Sure. We just finished up a concert a couple weeks ago with the Wellesley Choral Society. It was their annual cabaret concert, which is always a fun one. And Buffy's been working on a project with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So Make-A-Wish recently had a wish child from Bolton. And so we are doing a video with them, kind of highlighting that story and just some of the good work they do.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Thank you. So do you want to walk us through your request tonight?
Honestly, I don't have the number right here in front of me, I'm afraid.
Would it help you if I told you that you were requesting $22,116.27 for Q4 franchise fees and Q4 capital quarterly payment?
That would be great. Thank you.
So, actually, though, I did have one small question just to confirm that it is Q4 that we're talking about.
Yes.
It's not, okay, so it's Q4 2025.
Yes, that's right. So they always run like 3 months late, or about 2 months late from the.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Okay, well, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second that.
Okay, so just to be clear, it's the approval of the $22,116.27.
That's
Okay,
correct.
roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Thank you, Nikki. You can stop juggling us.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night. Okay, next up is the town meeting preliminary article review. Marie, do you want to have Pam kick it off with the
Yes.
planning board articles and then you'll kind of pick up the other end?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, that sounds great.
All right. Hi, Pam.
Hi, how are you?
Not bad.
Good.
So we submitted 6 placeholders and a street acceptance for town meeting. They're all zoning bylaw amendments. I'll go through them one by one. Just give you a brief summary and then I can answer questions if you have any. Does that sound good?
That's great.
Okay, the planning board's been looking at the land use table and have decided to expand upon uses that are defined in the table under Mass General Law. If a use isn't included in your zoning, it is not permitted. And it's become kind of problematic categorizing proposals throughout the years. So we've expanded upon that and also updated some uses just to adhere to current land use trends. So you can and keeping the base of the land use table, and we did some edits that are noted in green on the posted zoning bylaw changes that are found on the planning board webpage. On the second placeholder is for driveway bylaw amendments or incorporating some additional design requirements to increase public safety. Things like line of sight requirements, being able to combine individual driveways if there's some safety concerns, and distances from intersecting streets are a few of those examples of the amendments. Home occupations, is the third placeholder. They thought it was important to still allow them with leniency, but we added a few requirements so that we're able to address some problematic uses that have been occurring in residential zoning districts. And that is mostly related to storage and operation of construction material, commercial construction vehicles outside. So it just enables some additional enforcement that we've been needing so we can act on some problematic uses. Placeholder number 4 is a slight amendment to the major residential development. It applies to all development in Bolton that are 6 lots or more And under Massachusetts general law, you cannot require a definitive subdivision to apply for a special permit. You have to provide them with the as of right zoning option for just a straight definitive subdivision requirement. So we just reworded it slightly to encourage that they apply for the special permit under the FOSBRD and not require it. Typically it is the developer's choice, so we don't see it being problematic or because it does allow for less roadway construction and smaller lot sizes. But we have to adhere to the general law requirements. So that's a proposed amendment for that. There's also placeholder number 5 is an inclusionary zoning amendment. Any development of 8 units or more has to provide an affordable housing option. And under the bylaw, there's a requirement that the select board define the local preference option. And it kind of is convoluted because the planning board is authoring the authority under the inclusionary zoning bylaw. So we're just changing it to have the planning board be the authority for that local option definition. And so it can be incorporated right into the conditions of approval. And typically you just refer to the 40B local definitions, which would define Bolton residents as getting priority for those affordable units.
Okay, I just wanted, can I stop you and just ask a
Sure,
question?
of
on
course,
that one in
yeah.
particular, just because since the select board would be giving up power, I want to clearly understand what it is.
Sure.
So what are the local preference definitions? Can you just be kind of specific so I can understand that?
Yeah, well, the bylaw is broad and it just says that the select board shall define the local preference requirement. Typically, what has been done in the past is you refer to the 40B definitions for local preference, which would be a resident of Bolton or a town employee of Bolton or a direct relative of someone that resides in Bolton. So a child or sibling of a Bolton resident.
Okay.
And that satisfies the 40B requirements and ensures that it counts towards our subsidized housing inventory while providing priority allocation to the affordable units to local people.
Okay. Thanks, I understand that.
And Pam, the planning board would use the same 40B definition?
Yes.
Okay.
We would need to adhere to that in order for the units to count towards our subsidized housing inventory, which would be the whole goal of the bylaw. So we would make sure that it satisfies that requirement.
Okay.
And then the 6th placeholder was a zoning bylaw expansion of the business zoning district along Main Street. The planning board discussed this at last night's meeting, and they decided they'd like to postpone this to a future town meeting so they have additional time to look at details of the area and possible additional expansion and inclusion of property, and also conduct additional public outreach. So we will probably be requesting you remove that from the placeholder for the annual town meeting of 26. And then the final is the street acceptance for Moderator Way. As you know, the town reached a settlement and owns Moderator Way, but it still has to go through town meeting acceptance to be considered a public way. We're still awaiting the as-bills from the engineering company, but they have laid all the bounds and conducted all the survey work. So we're just waiting for the actual layout plans themselves so we can present those at annual town meeting.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody have any questions for Pam about any of those articles?
Just a sort of technical question about what we need to vote on tonight. So it's my understanding that we need to vote to refer the articles to the planning board for public hearing. So basically you'd be asking us to refer placeholder articles 1 through 5, as well as the street acceptance article to the planning board for public hearing.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Pam? All right, is there a motion to refer placeholders 1 through 5 and the street acceptance for Moderator Way to the planning board for public hearing?
So moved.
Second that.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So, thanks,
Thank-
Pam.
Thank you for that. And just for everyone's information, the official public hearing will be March 11th.
Good
Great,
to know.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, Pam.
Bye.
All right, Marie, do you want to take us through the rest of the
Certainly, I
warrant?
can talk through it. I know that you've seen a very rough draft of the language. I just want to frame this year's warrant as contrasted to last year based on the deferred capital. If you recall, last year, all told, we ended up applying, I want to say $91,000 all in for both town and school capital, despite being besieged with requests. For the draft warrant articles, obviously it'll be accepting annual reports. There will be the warrant article for the unpaid bills. We're still confirming all of the bills that are listed and that they are relevant and not incurred during this fiscal year. The operating budget remains to be determined in terms of the amount. This year, unlike prior years, there will be no offset from the overlay surplus. There's a request, and that will be also discussed further tonight, about creation of a new revolving fund, modification in effect of the existing Park and Rec revolving fund to segregate for field usage fees, as well as determining the use of those funds for field maintenance. Our standard every year revolving fund spending limits, and then replenishment of the fiscal 26 reserve fund. And this was a question for advisory that I look forward to discussing with them next week. If you remember, advisory had applied a large portion of their balance to backstop the cost of the temporary water disinfection. Placeholder article for replenishing the fiscal 26 local improvements. If you recall, advisory did not approve transferring the entire cost of the temporary disinfection. They requested the DPW cover that cost, or a large portion of it, within the local improvements line that we use for spring cleanup. So those numbers are still in a to be determined status. There'll be an article for transferring an amount of our certified free cash, 427,000 or thereabouts, to stabilization. This is not similar to last year where we were paying back stabilization, but this is an acknowledgement of the free cash we have that was generated predominantly by a lot of one-time events, and that we are able now to meet our 5% balance. Stabilization is 5% of the operating budget. So that's a great thing. There will be an article for the permanent water disinfection engineering, and I look forward to discussing this more in the TA report, but scoping down the whole permanent disinfection solution to just taking a small piece and trying to advance the engineering and design so that we are in accord with DEP. If you recall, last year we had created a capital stabilization fund. And so there was a request of determining a funding source for an ongoing funding source. There has been no solid decision as to what is our ongoing source, but we wish to seed it with money from our certified free cash of fiscal 25. Then dropping down to capital, recalling again, we didn't spend, we only allocated, I want to say, $10,000 for our wastewater treatment facility for last year. For capital this year, we have items that I will be recommending advance: the public safety building phone system, the transfer station cameras, painting of the DPW garage with a new estimate. I know I discussed the Houghton building, my last meeting with advisory. Folks were somewhat lukewarm on that. So again, I look forward to what they say on Tuesday. And then due to site safety and security, advancing the capital for the Florence Sawyer School doors, as well as the Emerson doors. Going back to our capital stabilization, the intent would be using it for projects that are in effect spanning years. One of them being the local improvements line. So taking 75,000 from capital stabilization that we funded earlier for local improvements. Again, if monies aren't used for these items, then they would roll back to their funding source. Another being fire pond improvements, which has been within the raise and appropriate budget. Due to constraints and timing and the like, it hasn't really been touched for successive years. I don't want to reduce that amount, but I want to leave it in a place where there is a longer term for expending it. Upgrades to the wastewater treatment facility, which are required, and the DPW director has broken out over an incremental replacement schedule what the expectation is for maintaining that facility. And then the Bowerbrook repair of the earthen dam. If you recall, the Conservation Commission had proposed this last year. It was a terribly tight year financially. In the interim, there have been 2 grant applications to in effect cover this amount. The news on when we would be receiving the larger of the 2 grants would not be until June. I don't want this to sit by the wayside. I know that Bowers is our most popular recreational area, and that this is something that's been long deferred. Other components that are not that are financially oriented is the acquisition and replacement of DPW vehicles. This would cover 1 very heavy-duty DPW truck. We have not been replacing these vehicles on a regular schedule, not out of lack of interest, but due to a lack of funds. We have insurance monies that we can apply as an offset from an earlier truck fire. And by virtue of the long lead time necessary, the recommendation would be for town meeting to authorize this replacement, but knowing it's going to take at least 18 months before you see the vehicle. So this would be, ordered in May of 2026, but likely financially would not be hitting until fiscal year 28. That's the money-oriented articles. I have then some other articles, one of them being to enable the select board to accept easements for utility and the like. The language is in the packet. This was found by Pam, the director of planning, as it would be sort of an all-encompassing acceptance should the town meeting give that. Another would be an article allowing the adoption of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 33B. What this enables is for premises that are serving alcohol, that they can, on Sundays, that they can start serving alcohol at 10 a.m. Retailers in Massachusetts for off-premises consumption can sell earlier, but I'm aware that we have restaurateurs who wish to potentially offer Sunday brunch with an alcohol license. And then the final closing the show article of authorizing the town election.
Hey, thank you for walking us through all of that. It's a lot to take in, but thank you for going through it. Does anyone on the board have any questions for Marie on any of the items that she outlined?
My only question is, so for our next regularly scheduled board meeting, do you think that you'll have relatively fleshed out language for each of
Yes.
these?
A
Great.
lot of the language, even though some may be pulled or slightly modified, will be in much better form by tomorrow. And then I pledge to send these to council, and council will be prepared for the next board meeting in March.
And Marie, and we may get to this later. If so, I apologize. For the Parks and Rec, are you proposing a new revolving fund or just amending the existing revolving fund?
It's a little bit of both, and this will be coming up later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the early draft of the warrant articles? Okay. Next up, and we are pretty much on time, so that's good because this is a packed meeting. But we have an update from Parks and Rec. There are a couple of specific items that we'll be discussing, but before we get started, I did want to say that I know there's been a lot of community engagement over a letter that appeared in the Bolton Independent last week about field usage fees. Yeah, and I want everyone to know, in case you have not seen the announcement from Bolton Youth Sports, that I did have a meeting with Marie and with the chair of Parks and Rec and with our Parks and Rec director and with the folks from Bolton Youth Sports, where I think we've talked through a lot of the issues that the sports programs were concerned about. And I know, Martha, you'll take us through that a little bit more. But I would like to thank the youth sports groups for their engagement this week and for the very productive conversation that I think we all agreed, and certainly they will correct me if I'm misspeaking, but I think we all have shared values over encouraging our youth sports and supporting them and making sure that both the town needs are met in terms of maintenance of the fields and also that the youth sports programs are financially viable and strong going forward. So that being said, Martha, do you want to start us off with an update about the 2026 summer camp?
Sure. So we went live on February 3rd, excuse me. It was we got a few people, but the first one that did sign up, he actually signed up for 55 slots. So it was nice for that first one to come in. Currently, we were at 66 slots filled, and a slot is for a individual. So I can't say kids because some kids take multiple slots. So we have 66 so far, which I'm actually very happy about. We do have a plan to continue to get our programs out there. Not only do we have the camp going on out there for marketing, but we also have the other, we have 3 other events coming up. One is the Bolton Rec Summer Camp, which we just talked about. Happy to take more questions on that. But we also have summer swimming that we have sent out, but we have 2 people signed up for it, but it is too cold to think about swimming. So I'm really not that concerned about that one. And we're trying something new, which is to try to engage the community and not that have various interests. And so we're starting this thing that's called a Puzzle Palooza. And basically what it is people come in and they buy a table, or, they can have up to 4 people on it for $40, and they sit around and put the puzzle pieces together. I think it's 1,000 puzzle pieces, and whoever wins, wins. So it's kind of fun. We've seen it in other towns since Sudbury that we know. It's really everywhere, Natick, Boylston. So there's a lot of different places where it's happening. So we're a little late to the Palooza, but we're certainly going to jump in with 2 feet. And then another thing we're talking about, so now we're starting to plan other events. And so we do have the egg hunt coming up. It's planned for March 29th. I hope the snow is gone by then. But for that, we do have it on the common, and we do put all kinds of eggs all over the place. And we have people come and do face painting and other crafts we have set up for people to do as well. That seems to be a really big event for Bolton, and it's actually really fun to watch when we let them go up the hill and they scatter all about. So those are the ones. We also have some other ones that are coming up that we're thinking about. One is a walk around Bolton group, so we're looking to get that out there maybe May. We have to watch the weather, but essentially it would be a leader that would take people in Bolton just for walks around all our trails and start like a walking buddy thing. So Bill, I know is interested in that. The other thing is we're starting to do a lot more marketing and outreach with our programs, because some of them people just don't know about them. We send them to individual email lists, and some people get them, some people don't. But I'll just let you know how we do the marketing and how we're going to up that marketing. So for right now, we do send out emails. We do post on our Facebook page. We do Instagram as well, but we do local paper announcements. We have posters at the post office in Bolton Orchards and the Houghton Building. And I'm pleased to say that the Houghton Building has the information on the camp up today. So it was nice to see as Lisa dug out to get there to put it up there. We have ongoing communities. So I talked to Kristen DeJean, and we're going to do some things in her paper, Independent, and it's also going to be like a corner or something like that for Parks and Rec, so that we can keep the town aware of what's going on and what we're doing. So we're going to do a lot of push marketing out so that we can get as many people as possible to know about our programs. And just to go on that, Danielle and I have been speaking a lot. And we actually had this little conversation about perhaps doing a snowman contest or something to that with the youth soccer group and any other group that may want to do. Just because this will also help to show the town that there's no bad feelings between anybody, and we're joining. And one of the things that Danielle and I have talked about is that we really want to be partners in this versus going different routes, so to speak. So really happy about that, because I think that that's also going to give us more people to contact or get in front of to tell them about our programs. So as I mentioned, there's 66 spots in the camp, and now we're going to ramp up a lot of this marketing. The swimming right now, I mentioned it has 2 signed up, but like I said, it's still a little cold to think about swimming. The Puzzle Palooza, we have 3 tables bought. And
when is that, Martha?
It's 3/27, March 27th. It's a Friday night.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Martha, you say 66 slots for the camp. How many total slots are you looking to fill?
I don't know that answer to that. Lisa
Okay.
is on. Lisa, if you have that answer. She's at work, so she might pop on. I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you. I just don't want to throw a number out.
And how's the staffing going for the summer camps?
We're still interviewing for them right now. We're really looking for our lifeguards, as well as some people that Lisa can depend on, assistant directors and others, so that she can get it up and running quickly. So she's really looking into that and working on it as we speak now.
Okay. And what about the discussions with the Boy Scouts? Is that finalized?
Oh, that's all settled. That's settled.
Okay.
You mean the prices and what we were talking about with them? Yeah, that's all settled and they're paid, so we are all set to go.
Okay. And do you have a line item budget for just the running of the camps?
So this is going to also go into the articles. So we do have one revolving fund, which is from the programs. So it'll be money that we raise. So from the camp, money will go into that. Other programs that we're starting to roll out, that money will go in there. And then the other revolving fund, as Marie mentioned, that is going to be really focused on just the youth groups. The fields, taking care of them. We'll have money coming in from our field fees. So the money will be completely separate from camps and all of that we're just going to keep a pile in a revolving fund based on fees that we get from different types of groups, soccer, baseball, lacrosse, all of those.
So if I'm not mistaken, that's the revenue side. Do you have the expense side on the camp?
We do track it. I know that we do it in my rec, so we can pull a report for you, no problem. That's where we're starting to switch people over so that it's a great place where they can fill out all their information once and then they don't have to continue to do it. And that's where they pay us. And so we certainly can get you a report.
Yeah, that would be great. And it's, of course it's in the revolving fund, but it still needs to be run efficiently.
Yeah. So I actually was talking to one of our commissioners just because she's an accountant. And she said that that's something that we really need to do, what's coming in and out, and track that. Nothing to do with the field fees, but this is all about the programs and money coming in and money going out.
Yeah, well, I know staffing is difficult with camps because it's hard to get a, teenager to commit in January for something in the summer. But
well, it's also that with the salaries. Because they're really playing it. Some of them do not have, they haven't gone through Red Cross training or any of that. So it's kind of expensive. So what we've done in the past is we offer them that we will pay for half of it. And then at the end, if they're there all summer, then we'll pay them the rest of it for the fees.
And how many lifeguards do you need based off your certification?
I think Lisa and I were talking about somewhere in the range of 8 to 10.
Okay. And are you having a hard time finding them?
Well, we just kind of kicked that off. Lisa has put that whole program together. First, we were really focusing on that and getting it out, but now it's high on her list to do. So we can give an update on that next meeting if you'd like.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And just one question on the camps before we move on. Do you have to do anything in terms of certification this year? Or is that an annual? You're all set. You've got everything in place.
Yep.
And it all carries over from last year to this year.
Yes, that's what I was saying, where people can go right back on and they don't have to fill everything out. So it's just continuous and everything is in there. So as I said, we can pull reports out if we need to pull the reports out. And it's going to be very clear that we keep park fees, if you will, the maintenance and everything of our parks and fields. But also then the programs, because there will be money that goes in and out of the programs, hopefully more money going in.
Yeah, I was specifically talking about like the certification from the state, the whole process that Parks and Rec went through last year.
Yes, it's still good.
There's nothing that you need to do this year to maintain that.
No.
So, okay. All right.
Still, sorry, they still do need to come in and check us. We have to apply in May, and then the Board of Health will come and inspect it the first day, first week. He'll usually tell us when he's coming, but that needs every year. That would need an inspection.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and you guys have your boxes checked on that. You feel confident with the procedure for this year, Lisa?
Yeah. We just have to change a little bit wording in some of it to make it more clear. But yeah, for the most part, everything's done from last year because
Okay.
there's a lot, all the forms filled out. But yes.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the field usage fees. And before we start on that, I do just want to make a statement on behalf of the Select Board and the town of Bolton. I do want to be clear that there was no consideration being given to shifting all of the field maintenance fees onto the youth sports programs. There is not consideration now. There was not in the past. And with that being said, I am going to ask Martha to just give a quick review of where we are with the field usage fees at this point.
Okay, so I have done a lot of researching and Lisa as well. We work well as a team. But I've come to the conclusion, or I found out and I rewrote all of our fees for youth groups. And essentially what it's going to be is we maintain all the maintenance, the mowing, and the end of year things that we have to do, electricity, other maintenance things. And so we're going to do that. Sorry, I just got nervous for a second. So we've decided that we're going to have a seasonal fee for the youth groups. And in that they will get basically what they're going to do, maintain the fields while they're in season, do all their lines and things and make sure that everything is up and running. We will continue to do all of the mowing. And there we go. So they will do field lining, minor dragging and grooming, bench and equipment setup, trash removal related to the games, and just general seasonal care during active play. And then the town will be responsible for the rest, which includes irrigation system maintenance, turf rehabilitation if necessary, fertilization as well at the end of the seasons, high wear, area recommendations. So, walking into the soccer field and going over to the snack shack, there's a lot of walking that happens around that. And then all of that, then we will put a seasonal fee on it. It has not been approved. It has not been brought to the Parks and Rec. We're going to be doing that next Thursday. So this is not approved, and we have not figured out exactly what the amount will be that they will have to pay per season. But it's lower. We told her that, I've told all of them that it's a lot lower than they would perceive, that they would think it was going to be.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that. And just to be clear, you're also updating your fees for other users, right?
Yeah,
Or
this is first.
proposing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was the first one that we were focused on to get
Okay.
this out. And I will tell you that this is unique to towns around us. A lot of them charge the $10 per kid and all of that. So we're just going to have this flat fee, which will be helpful to us, but also to the soccer teams and them for the administration that they have to do on it. So.
Okay. And then my understanding is that those fees would go into the proposed new revolving fund and that those funds would get sunk back further by the town into additional field maintenance. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So are there any questions from the board about what Martha has presented so far?
So the additional fees for the non-youth programs that you're going to develop, those will be at a higher level than?
No, actually, it'll be like people that don't normally use the fields, or if somebody wants to pay for the basketball field. There's a variety of them. The last time they've been updated was 2020. So as I mentioned, I focused on youth sports first. And now we have a proposal that we have built in Park and Rec, but we haven't got to that. Like I said, I'm focused on just these three first.
But is it going to be a tiered pricing?
Yeah, it's 5 tiers.
Okay.
And it depends on which field you're using. We do have some girls lacrosse teams coming and using a field from Neshoba Regional District, which is not ours. So things like that, where they should pay us for the fees for wherever they are.
Okay.
Hey, Martha, thanks for walking us through all this. I just had one logistical question related to the website. So I know, like right now, if you go onto the townofbolton.com, there's a page where you can actually see the existing fee schedule for field park facility use. So I'm assuming that after you've made the decisions and everything, you'll update that so it'll be
Yes.
publicly available.
Yes.
Right? Awesome.
And we'll
Thank
get rid of the 2020 and
Yep.
now it will be updated. Also, I do want to say that for the league, in the contract that we're going to do with them, first of all, it's going to be 3 years, so we don't have to keep doing this in agreement. And I have a puppy in the background. My husband's trying to quiet him.
Just so you
Um,
know, the sound isn't picking the puppy up, so you don't have to worry about it. And
Oh,
also,
good.
I think
Okay.
we're all dog
Thank you.
lovers anyway.
Thank you. Yes, so we're gonna keep it 3 years. The sports leagues agree with that, so it will be done. And then the other fees, we'll present to you. We're working again next week on our monthly meeting. So now that this is done, we're gonna go on there. Focus on those.
Okay, at this point, before we move on to the revolving fund discussion, which I hope will be very brief, I do want to invite anybody from the Bolton Youth Sports Programs from the board who would like to say anything at this point. I see Danielle is here. I think Mike is here as well. So I think everybody might be here, Becca, and Vince. Anyway, if any of you would like to join in, please feel free.
I wouldn't mind saying just a few words. Oh, should I have raised my hand? Sorry, Vince.
Nope, you're all good.
It's a small meeting anyways, but yes, thank you for meeting with us this week. Thank you for walking us through this and the careful consideration. Youth sports is extremely expensive to run. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of nervous Nellies over the past month or so. So I do appreciate the town working with us and getting this, panned out. And I'm eager to see, the new structure, which I'm sure will be, easy to accommodate from a youth sports standpoint.
Thanks, Mike. Vince, I see you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I just, I'll echo Mike. I just want to thank the board. This obviously was in some fashion miscommunicated. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I think at the end of the day, the result is what matters. And I just want to thank all of you because the open dialogue is so important. And I just want to share that I really appreciate that and echo Mike's comments. I know Becca and Danielle would say the same, but thank you very much. And we hope that can continue.
Okay, thanks. All right, I appreciate everybody working together this week to get this resolved. Marie, do you just want to give a 2-second? I don't know if we have to say too much more on the revolving fund.
Basically, I think Martha covered a lot of it. The end goal of the changes that are being requested at town meeting is to segregate both the collection of the fees, whether it's for program fees or for field fees, and to have the two funds be dedicated to funding those two operations, to not commingle them at all.
And that does require approval at town meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for the Parks and Rec update. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the youth sports people for being here. We appreciate you as well. We look forward to the kickoff of spring sports very soon.
Yay. Thank you.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
The next item on our agenda is public comment. So if anyone has a public comment, please raise your hand. I am not seeing anyone, so we will move on to our next agenda item, pretty much right on time, which is Century Mills Estates. This is coming back before the board following a meeting in December of 2025, where the residents, a number of residents from Century Mill came before the board to express their concern about the lack of a path forward to street acceptance for the properties in Century Mill. At that point in time, I had expressed that I would be willing to have the Century Mill residents back in February, so this is that follow-up. Just to let you know what I have done in the meantime, because as I expressed in December, all of the select board members are relatively new and have not lived through all of the Century Mill history over the years. So from my perspective, I spent a lot of time reading old emails going back to 2018 and 2019 concerning road acceptance at Century Mill. I have read the 147-page complaint brought by a number of the Century Mill residents against the developer. I have spoken with plaintiff's counsel in that case about the status. I have also met with the town planner and the chair of the planning board to understand their perspective. And I have also reviewed a letter from the Department of Public Utilities that was sent to the developer. I think it was the very end of January, about significant issues concerning the water system, the public water system at Century Mill. So those are the things that I have done to get myself up to speed. The board also a few weeks ago approved sending a letter to the members of Century Mill Estates attaching a memorandum from our town planner to the planning board dated, I think it was June of 2025, which outlined proposed steps that that Century Mill could take to bring their streets into a condition where they could be presented for acceptance at town meeting. I know other members of the select board have done work on their own, and before we dive into a discussion, I'd like to hear from Brian and Bill as to any efforts that you guys have undertaken since our last meeting.
Sure. Thanks, Kate. Yeah. So I would say in terms of the written documentary material you referenced, I've read all the same things, including the complaint, the 2023 DPW report, the niche report, all the old emails, because as you mentioned, it's a lot. There's a long history here, so there was a lot to get up to speed on for those of us who haven't been steeped in it over the years. I also was really, I could hear the reasonable frustration for the residents of CME about the situation that they're in. And so I reached out and asked to meet in person with a few folks just to hear in more detail what the history was from their perspective. So I had a meeting shortly after the new year here in Town Hall with a few folks, and they also shared some additional background emails with me, which were very helpful. I had follow-up conversations with the chair of the planning board, another member of the planning board, with our town administrator, and with our DPW director. And so those were some of the things that I did to just try to get a whole picture of what's been going on with the situation.
Okay, thanks. Bill, have you had any time to dive into this? I know you've taken on a lot of other liaison activities. So.
Well, I've read through everything, including planning board minutes, starting back, I believe in 2018 and going forward. I've had several conversations with the director of planning just to try to get up to speed on planning issues, because it's not an area that I've ever had experience in. I have not read the complaint, so that's probably a lawyer thing to do, but I will certainly do it if someone can provide that to me.
Okay, so yeah, I do want to, one of the things that we had put in our letter to the Century Mill residents was requesting that you designate a specific individual or group of individuals as a spokesperson, just because there are so many individual residents that are impacted here. And I'm wondering if anyone here is here to speak on behalf of the Century Mill residents as a whole. If you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself and let me know whether you are a designated representative for Century Mill. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody.
No one's had time to discuss that, Kate.
Okay, thanks, Matt. I see Matt Fanning. Can you let me know, are there any efforts?
I
to
learned of the
designate-
memorandum today via the YouTube, so I'll let Vince speak. He has more
okay.
information on this.
Okay, Vince, go ahead.
No, thank you, Kate. And I've spoken to the majority of I think everyone here, almost everyone here that is representing Century Mill. First of all, I want to thank you. This is the furthest we've gotten. So I want to, Kate, Brian and Bill, thank you, and Marie, for giving us the time and really digging in. It sounds like you went back, and Bill, I'm happy to share that with you if you'd like to read that complaint. But
Yeah, please.
look, they're between 2019 and 2022, there were at least, to the best of my knowledge, 38 different meetings that this was brought up, right? So that's a significant number, and I don't expect you to have read them all. I think you're all very busy. The one thing I did want to ask, we mentioned moving the goalpost, and I think that was a quote that was out there. At the end of the day, there were changes that were made to what our understanding with what the planning board had been saying for years, and what we actually found. Specifically, that time frame I'm speaking about was at the end of 2022. Right, and that was the end of one town planner, and she submitted her notes to move forward. And then the very next meeting in 2023, there was a very different tone about what was the expectation. And my question first, and I have a comment. Are you familiar with that? Are you familiar with what I'm speaking about now? And this isn't a quiz. I appreciate the open dialogue.
Yeah, no, I am not familiar with that in
Okay.
particular.
So, I'm familiar with the change in planning board personnel, and I hear obviously the characterization of the shift in tone.
Yeah. And did you read the outgoing memo in 2022?
I believe this would have been from Valerie.
That's right.
Yeah, I believe I have a copy of that.
Okay, so you would have seen that she had recommended the approval. Now, I will say timing is everything, right? So the interesting thing, and I think a lot of our Century Mill Estates members weren't on yet in the beginning of this call. If you would take note of what just happened in the beginning of this call, someone came on, and I apologize, I don't have their name, in regards to road acceptance for Moderator Way. Now, the interesting thing is they are talking about submitting this, and they haven't submitted the as-built, and they're speaking about this as like this is an easy process. This is exactly where we were. I mean, it's almost identical. But then we weren't even allowed to get on this meeting. We had to submit the as-built first. We had an exact punch list that had agreed upon, and I can send you multiple documentations that state that was the punch list. We finally submitted the as-built. And then all of a sudden we went from several items to over $1 million. So to me, I'll be very interested to see what the process of Moderator Way is. It shouldn't be that easy because every documentation, and if you look at going back even to into the early before 2010, you can't read every minute. You can't read minutes from every meeting, right? But essentially you can read, and it's very specific, very clear that there were literally every single meeting, every single year that they were looking and reviewing, and then they were following up, and there was no concerns, right? And so to us, there were no concerns. There was challenges with the builder, and you can read through that. But we've been working with the town all throughout that, especially through 2019 through 2022. And then 2023, something changed. And that's why we presented our complaint bill. That's the complaint. And so that's what we wanted to try to speak to you about. We understand that there's only so much you can do, but based off of what I saw from Moderator Way, my recommendation and my ask, and please, if anybody from Century Mill Estates disagrees, my ask is that we would reopen this case and take a look at it, right? And try and understand what the difference is between what's happening today with Moderator Way and exactly where we were in 2022 with Century Mill Estates.
Right. So, yeah, I can't speak to the details on Moderator Way, except that it has been reported out by the planning board as being in compliance with town standards. And
But they haven't submitted the as-built yet. I'm sorry, Kate, I don't want to
yeah,
interrupt you,
no,
but we
no,
went
it's
through
a
that process. So
conversation. It's a
that's why I'm saying we
conversation.
were in the exact situation. And we weren't allowed to get onto this meeting before we submitted as-built. So that's why, like, we just want clarity on, like, did we mess up? Like, what misstep happened? Because this seems like a very similar situation. And again, I appreciate this conversation. Like, I appreciate that you're looking into this. I just want to make sure when we're talking about 38 documents over a couple of years, it's impossible to look at everything. I'm looking at a very specific time frame, and I would love to dial in there and really try and understand what happened with the town. You can see outgoing memos in 2022 that said, let's move forward. And in 2023, there was new members. That's fine, right? And you mentioned that there's new members all the time. And then there was a new town planner and something changed. And we just want to understand what that is. That's all we're trying to understand. That's all we've ever asked for. And I hope that's a reasonable request.
Yeah, Vince, can I just ask, have you had a sit down with the chair of planning to discuss this recently? Because
Not recently, no.
okay,
I've had many conversations over the years, but not recently.
okay, my it's not even a recommendation, because, I can't recommend what you do with regard to another independently elected board that we don't have jurisdiction over. But I know that there is room for dialogue. I know there is room for conversation, for negotiation, and for discussion to try and get you guys moving forward. I know that there was the lengthy list from our DPW and from Niche in 2023. But there is, I believe, and I'm not a planning person. This is relatively new to me. There is room for discussion.
Right.
I think it needs, I think that having a professional in the room on your side who can speak, from an engineering and, those perspectives, construction, those things, somebody who can get into the details with the planner and, all of you in a room, I think there's room to have a conversation.
I appreciate that, Kate. I'll say one more thing and then I don't want to, because if you look at, and you go through all the minutes, there's multiple different meetings where it's said that there's only a few things left to go. And when they talk about big items, it was land grants, it was tax, it was not the punch list. The punch list was not the problem. And then all of a sudden it was, right? So I would love to have that conversation. I'd be happy to. And I'm sure I can speak for everybody in Century Mill Estates, at least on this one. We'll all be willing to have that conversation. If you have a suggestion on who to speak to and how to go about that, I'm happy to take it from there.
Yeah, this is just a personal recommendation that I think I would do if I was in your shoes, is that I would have a professional with me who can speak the same language. And try to come to a resolution on, the long list of items. What's really necessary, what is negotiable, what can go by the wayside, but at the end of the day, the town can't accept roads that don't meet the basic standards for roads in Bolton, because then unfortunately it becomes an expense of all of the taxpayers. And I feel for you guys. I understand the unpleasant situation that you guys are in. And it's not fair that you guys need to be going through this exercise, but nonetheless, this is where we are because of how things have shaken out. But the roads need to be at a basic minimum for the town to be able to accept them, but there is room for discussion as to what it takes to get you there.
Thanks, Kate. As a lawyer yourself, do you recommend us having legal counsel in that meeting too? So we bring an expert in against the expert of the Bolton town, DPW that's changed. Should we have legal counsel representing us?
I really can't make a recommendation.
Absolutely. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah. Kai, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. I I think the town's road acceptance process has failed the residents Century Mill Estates, and that failure is causing harm. We disagree strongly and materially with the DPW report, which reports to this board. Yet this select board chooses to stand behind a DPW work product called Crazy by the planning board. In so doing, I think this select board wasted the goodwill of the Century Mill Estates residents. And I believe we have to take alternative actions to make progress on this matter. Thanks.
Okay. All right, Nicole.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
So I think ultimately, you just said like we're here where we are now, but it's neglect on the town's end. That's what it comes down to. And I'm actually wondering if, in actually by legal right, it should be covered under error and omissions that the town has because of the neglect that has happened over the years.
Well, I will go on record as saying I don't think that the town has engaged in neglect. I think that the planning board has gone through their processes.
But they gave the bond back.
Yeah, again, I don't believe that the town has engaged in any kind of neglect or any kind of actionable conduct, but I cannot control what the homeowners do with respect to that. I mean, if you see it differently, you see it differently, but I would disagree with you.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
Matt.
So just for clarity, is that your legal representation or is that your opinion of the town?
That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. The other aspect that I want to make clear to Brian, Bill, and yourself, I truly believe that you three are part of the solution to this. You guys have done the research. You have looked back at the documentation that is very clear. There is a significant portion of this community that pays a substantial amount of taxes to the community and is willingly to doing so, that wants to be more of a part of the community, just wants the roads to be accepted within a reasonable, acceptable situation, not a moving goalpost. We have been here 3 years. The DPW has changed their list several times in that timeline. They have moved the goalpost. I'm documenting it to you guys right now. We're turning to you guys from a guidance standpoint to help us process the town that has not been amendable to our consistent voice. So as we move forward, we're looking to you guys to help be advocates for us for a fair assessment of what needs to happen here. Not one individual of the DPW that is upset at somebody. We're upset at the builder too. It's very evident. We are forced now to look at different avenues to get things that should be equal and fair. And we're looking to you guys for guidance in the sense of if there's a person we need to meet with and we need to bring an expert in with legal counsel and representation in that meeting, we will do that. But we need to know who that individual is. There's been numerous meetings, Kate, and we're sitting here on Zoom again. And if we need to have 52 houses strong in an in-person meeting, I think we're going to get that pretty easily.
Okay, well, it really is going to be unwieldy to have 52 people sitting down with a couple of representatives from the town. Are you guys able to designate a spokesperson to speak for you or two spokespersons who can sit down and have some meetings and try and have some constructive dialogues with folks from the town?
Hey, Kate, this is Randy Jassoum. I'm sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand, but
no worries.
I just I'll follow up to that. I think somebody referenced prior that we haven't had much in the way of discussions regarding that. There have been some preliminary discussions. I know you've had contact with Dan previously, Dan Sonneborn. And so, we're in the midst of discussing that with him. And in doing so, we are going to try to elect just a small group of individuals to kind of filter that communication between CME and the town, and then back to Dan as needed. So to answer your question, we will be able to put that together. I don't have a definitive answer for you as to when that would be, but I can assure you that it would be in place prior to any meetings that were to take place with the planning board.
Okay, well, I tell you what I will do. When you have that designated group of people, I will sit down with you. And I will sit down with the chair of the planning board if he is amenable, and I believe he will be. And we might invite a couple of other folks from town, and we will have a discussion and try and see where we can move forward. Does that seem like a reasonable next step?
I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody who doesn't like that proposal who's on this meeting? Okay, so email. Vince, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not that I disagree, and I wanted to give everybody their turn. If you look at and first of all, thank you. I think that's very reasonable. But if you look at the minutes of the day that niche report was given to us at the planning board meeting, there were members of the planning board that were questioning it, right? And then nothing came of it. So it's all documented, and we can go back and look at that. So what was proposed to us back then and why we haven't made progress is because we were told, like, this is it, this is where it is. And even though some of the planning board members actually questioned it as we did. So I just hope that we can keep an open mind and look for a path forward beyond saying, hey, 46 members divide $1,000 or $1 million, you know, and this is what it is. Similar to what just happened with the letter that was sent to us. This is why we asked for this to be reviewed, because we didn't agree with that to begin with. And I'm just hoping that we can look at it through a different lens and really look back at what the timeline was and what the occurrence of events that happened. And you can see that our neighborhood worked for years under the assumption that we were moving along, right? Until one day that changed. And then that was it. Nothing. Right? So please consider all the time we've spent. And to Matt's point, I don't want to blame anybody or point fingers. And to Nicole's point, at some point, you would hope that the town would raise their hand and say, you know what, we apologize. We are responsible for leading you in the wrong direction. Why wouldn't we have done those things in 2019 when it would have been a lot cheaper than all of a sudden dropping it on us in 2023 when we were working with the town for years? All right. So I just want to go on record there because we've been a part of this for a very long time. And I just hope it's not a conversation and then this is what it is, and we're going to move on. I mean, we've got to find a way forward beyond what is presented to us right now.
No, I understand that. And, you know, you have different people in the room to have conversations with. And like I said, I know that there are areas that are negotiable. You know, so I can have an appreciation for the unfortunate series of events that has gotten you guys to where you are at this point. But also we have to take where we are and move forward at this point to get to a resolution. I'm going to answer people in the order they raised their hand. Kathleen McDougall.
Yes, thank you. I just want to add one point with respect to something Vincent said, which is, you know, $1 million divided by 47 homes. In addition to challenging that punch list for all the reasons already cited, I think it's important to note, what confidence are we supposed to have, given our prior interactions and our prior experience, that any amount of money that we were to put forward would actually result in town acceptance of the roads without that goal again being moved? I think, to Vince's point, there needs to be an acknowledgement by the town that there have been agreements reached with us in the past that were then not honored with the turnover of the various boards. And that is extremely significant and something that definitely needs to be considered by the town.
Okay, thank you for that. Brian.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer a couple of comments, mainly in case it's beneficial for this future meeting that's just been contemplated. And these are comments around the role of the niche report and the niche estimate in particular, and how I think it may be muddying the waters a little bit. So this is just what I've gleaned, so I could be wrong, but I think that in 2023, when the DPW director went out to sort of take a look at the property, My understanding is that he followed the exact same process that he followed for Goose Pond Path and its road acceptance, and the same process that's followed for Moderator Way in terms of looking at what the specifications are and then where there may be deficiencies. So my understanding is that that process actually has been the same, and then he developed the lengthy memo with all of the items that needed to be brought into compliance. That memo in and of itself did not have any price tag or numbers associated with it. What the planning board then did is ask the engineer at the time, Niche, to basically essentially come up with a price tag for the things that were in the DPW director's report. But that estimate was based on assumptions of the town paying prevailing wage to do the work, also a whole bunch of built-in contingency. So there is like when you look at their estimate, the $1 million, I think you're right, looks like a really high number, but it's because of the nature of their request asking for the estimate based on the assumption that the town would have been doing the work. And I think the reason why, as Kate mentioned, it may be helpful to bring like a project engineer or that type of a professional to the discussion is that I think a lot of the things in the DPW director's report can actually be addressed at much lower cost than may be reflected in the niche estimate. That's the sense that I've picked up from the various conversations I've had. So I'm just offering that in case it's helpful when you have that follow-up meeting. And that's all I wanted to add at the moment.
Okay, I am only going to take two more comments on this because we're way over time and we still have a lot on the agenda. I'm going to take Bill and then I'm going to take Vince. Bill.
Okay, I'll be as quick as possible. I know right now you're in a dispute with the developer. There'll be a point in time where you will have a HOA or some other legal entity that will be able to raise funds from the residents of Century Mill Estates and use those funds to make improvements, not getting into the dispute over what those improvements are, but is there going to be some HOA or some other entity in existence at some point in time?
Does anyone from Century Mill?
I can take that. I mean, the hope is obviously that, you know, we are able to remove Bendenson as the current HOA trustee and put in a group of individuals who reside in the neighborhood to run that HOA. You know, that's definitely down the line. I can't make any promises as to, you know, when that will happen. But honestly, that completely shifts the financial burden back to us as residents. And that's something I don't believe all of us are willing to accept at this point in time. So would we have the ability to implement our own HOA and raise funds? Yes, but I don't think that's priority number one, or I should say option number one for us to raise funds for the road acceptances.
I agree, Randy.
I think just as a point of clarification, Bill, we do have an HOA that is in legal standing that collects, dues from the homeowners, that pays for shared expenses such as plowing the roads that we would like for the town to take on. There's a dispute on who should be the trustee of the HOA, but if you ask the factual question, is there an HOA? Yes, there is.
Yeah, I was
So we do
aware
have a
that
mechanism.
there was a HOA, but I thought the developer made it problematic to run that HOA effectively.
Yeah, we have a lot of issues with HOA, but to answer your question factually, there is an HOA that is an operation that collects money, that pays for expenses. So if your question is, do we have a mechanism to raise money to pay for, the right repairs? Yes, we do. That is not a barrier.
That is exactly my question. Thank you.
But none of you are trustees at this point.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Final comment from Vince. And
Bill,
then-
Brian, thank you for your comments. I just want to make one point of clarity. So thank you. I think it was good. The one thing I want to make clear that's very different, and let's use Moderator Way as you're using examples. The planning board held us up for over a year because of the as-bills. Okay, so there was a lot of time wasted. we're not pointing fingers or blaming, but that was the reality of what happened, right? So that was a lot of time wasted. Okay. What we saw tonight was Moderator Way is coming on this meeting without as-built. So I'll be very interested to see how quickly that process goes because, again, going back to the culpability of the town at some point, right? At some point, the town has to be responsible. How much time did they waste? How much could we have gotten done before those as-built were submitted, similar to what we're seeing tonight from Moderator Way? And I think that goes back to our concern and the challenges and the frustrations we've had years ago. And that's the conversation for another day. And I appreciate, Kate, your suggestion, but I do want to make that point of clarity.
Okay, so hopefully somebody from CME will reach out to me by email. My email is on the town website. When you've got a group in place that's ready to sit down, and I will arrange a meeting and we will have a further conversation. Okay, thank you guys for coming. I know this is a difficult topic and a difficult situation, and I just like to say I appreciate everybody's thoughtful conversation over this. And we will have another discussion and move forward. Okay, next up is our town administrator report. Marie.
All right. The quick overview, the highlights. Alton Neshoba is on track. That's the highlight takeaway from that. The public water supply for the library and public safety building is in process, as I alluded to in the warrant articles. There had been a discussion with DEP as well as our engineers regarding the permanent disinfection solution. They haven't met complete resolution as to what option that would be. I had shared an earlier report with advisory, giving them an estimate of the range of costs. And as of today, I'm aware that there is a federal earmark, and I will be applying for that likewise. The Forbush Culvert #1, the design continues. I'd given a brief update at the last town meeting, and let me cross-reference the warrant article that I mentioned much earlier for the select board general acceptance of easements would also be helpful in this case. For the home rule or the special act alcohol, mark your calendars for March 5th, 2026. We will be receiving a report out on the committee. There's been no action on DCAM land. Want to bridge with the board? I was contacted by Senator Kennedy's office, who highlighted today's Senate session adjourned in memory of Chief Luke Hamburger. I've shared this likewise with the police department. We were unsuccessful in having a pole that was the correct height for the light. If you recall back a couple select board meetings, there is money in the roundabout contingency to cover the additional post light. That's approximately $38,500, and that has been authorized. Ideally, then this will definitely improve visibility. And there will be paving in the spring and additional line marking. We are just far from spring right now. The library has reopened to the public today, and the reimbursement expenses for our 2 insurance claims, both for property as well as equipment, are being compiled and will be submitted to Maya. Staffing and operations, no applications have been received to date for the full-time police patrol officer. I've shared with the board a policy that I will be seeking to append to the town's personnel policies on chemical sensitivity accommodation. Town clerk definitely wants me to say that dog licenses must be renewed by March 31st. And we're sort of at the halfway point, at least by her count of, how many license applications she's received. The planning director has submitted documentation that will give us a housing choice designation. Like all state grants, they all tie together. For the permanent disinfection, we would likely in the future be going to get funding through the state. The planning director's efforts at getting us that housing choice designation over here could entail or could enable us to secure a 1.5% interest rate. So it's a great example of people working together, and let us hope this moves forward. Civic Plus website transition has been pushed back. We're awaiting their upload and conversion of some existing minutes and agenda. Again, another shout out and commendation to Jenny Jacobson, who's been coordinating the communication with the town hall departments in this process. Last night, the second budget presentation from the regional school district showed our operating assessment increasing to $818, about $100,000. This is down from an earlier projected increase of $900 and I want to say $4,000. But I'm also aware that contemporaneously there is a meeting happening with the advisory committee and the district. I drafted and submitted to the superintendent and the school finance director an intermunicipal agreement that would codify our responsibilities for the wastewater treatment facility, which would be awesome should they be receptive. There are some committee meetings ongoing. Park and Rec is alluded to by the Park and Rec chair will be meeting next Thursday, discussing those items. Everyone should be planning to come to Town Caucus on Monday, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall. Some additional dates just of note, nothing says spring like household hazardous waste, and that will be starting up again at Devon's for residents starting next Wednesday as well as next Saturday. And the next meeting, as Brian had asked, there will be a council reviewed close to finalized town meeting warrant. Our audit has been complete and shared with the select board. I also want to publicly commend the town accountant for all of her work and the 7th consecutive year without a management letter. People are aware that it's been terrifically snowy. This thus far has been the largest snow and ice deficit we have ever run, or at least we've gone back and compared to 2015, which was disastrously high. Just for the board's information, we typically have a snow and ice deficit in the 200 to 240,000. Prior to the last storm, so prior to Sunday night, we were already at 350. And I will get that revised number. I'm frankly just a little afraid to ask. Under good news, our contractual health insurance increase for our non-Medicare plans is 2.9%, which is great.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. Maya had, if you remember my earlier presentation, here's the range. It could be 2.9 to 14 point, I want to say 8. I'm delighted. The regional dispatch assessment was voted at the dispatch all boards hosted at the Public Safety Building, and our assessment will be approximately almost 4% lower than it was in fiscal 26 due to the district sort of taking on more towns. In effect, though, now it has kind of reached capacity. As I alluded to with my very speedy warrant article run through, I will be discussing all the recommendations with advisory at their next meeting. The school district will also be coming to answer questions for advisory regarding their capital. And to note that the budget at present, some of the articles that I mentioned earlier are being pulled out of the raise and appropriate in order to balance the budget as well as be more suitable for sort of a long-term 3-year drawdown. Our working budget at first glance accommodates more requests than we can support with our raise and appropriate, but we're aware that not all expense shifts I mentioned above are reflected. We're also aware that the impact of the Alta Neshoba is not fully reflected. That's all I have.
That's a lot. Thanks, Marie. Any questions for Marie?
Just echoing the good news on the health insurance. That's a big help.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to select board business, public service announcements. I have a couple. They're actually just great big thank yous. First of all, to all the folks at the library, staff, trustees, everyone who really came together to figure out a way to make the library accessible and relevant when we had to be shut down. They came up with a lot of creative ways to engage the community, and I can't applaud them enough for all of their efforts. And I'm so glad that Marie was able to report that the library is open as of today. And the second, possibly bigger thanks goes to all the folks at DPW who are just being slammed with storm after storm. I think they've done a phenomenal job of keeping the roads clear, being out in a timely fashion. And I'd just like to say that, you know, we see all the work you're doing and we appreciate it greatly. So those are my public service announcements. Anybody else? Okay, select board reports. I would like to report on my attendance at the EMT Cadet Advisory board meeting earlier this week. They have a couple of really interesting and amazing things that they're doing. The first of which is they have their I'm going to just read it straight from the description. The teams of Neshoba cadets will be performing continuous CPR on March 27th and March 28th. This marathon is to raise scholarship money for the Gigi Bonazzoli Scholarship, an award that is presented each year to a few outstanding graduating seniors in the EMT cadet program. If you would like to donate, they have a Give Lively link, which Marie, maybe I can work with you to get that up on the town website. So as of a couple of hours ago, they were 1/5 of the way to their goal of $5,000. The scholarship is great. My daughter was the beneficiary of one of those scholarships, and it was appreciated. One of the other really interesting things that the cadet program is doing is the cadets now have an opportunity to, if they want to shadow an ER doc at UMass in the ER department. So they get to kind of be in and hands-on see what goes on in an emergency room. So that's sort of been a pilot program. And the other thing that they're looking at doing is once the kids are in the new high school, they would like to add in an EMR class, which is an emergency responder program, which would be an elective for freshmen. And it would be sort of a bridge program, a precursor to the EMT cadet program. So that is something that they are looking at implementing, which I think is great. Get more interest out there for kids to be in the EMT program. So that is all I have. Bill, do you have anything you wanted to report on?
Yeah, I attended, I think it was the first AgCom meeting after being reformed, and it was a good meeting. We went through the master plan and a good group of people, and they have their priority list getting ready to go to work on some of the projects that are outlined in the master plan directly related to their committee.
Great.
And one other thing, the Maria may have mentioned this, the tonight is the Neshoba Regional School District is on the advisory meeting with Stowe and Lancaster. And I look forward to watching that. And if you're concerned about the Bolton budget or want to be aware of the Bolton budget, that's a very, very important meeting to watch.
Thanks, Bill. Brian, anything from your end?
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay. Future agenda items. Anyone? I think we'll be busy enough with getting ready for town meeting, so. Okay, next up is appointment of 3 new members for the Cultural Council. I don't know if we have any of these folks with us, but Cultural Council is recommending the appointment of Craig Stivers, Maureen Grotus, and Jen Durrett to serve for 6-year terms expiring on June 30, 2031. If any of you are here, I don't see that you are, but if any of you are here and want to introduce yourself, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, we will go ahead and vote. All right, is there a motion to appoint these 3 fine volunteers to the Cultural Council?
So
Or-
moved.
Second that.
All right, all in favor, roll call, Bill,
Aye.
Brian,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So thank you to them for serving. We appreciate it. Next up is the last heavy lift of the main meeting, which is transfer station. Let me just get, Marie, do you have that that to pull up, or do you want me to? If you have it, that's probably easier. So this is an agenda item to review the transfer station sticker policy and vote for identifying stickers for household uses and associated fees. So this is something that Marie and I have talked about a number of times, and we disagree somewhat strenuously on the on how to proceed. But you know, this is following up on agenda items that we've talked about this in the recent past. And this is my proposal for sticker fees for the first year. I know Marie's view is different and that it should be a more nominal fee. My view is that we should start trying to close the revenue gap between the expenses and the revenue that the transfer station brings in. So my recommendation is a $50 annual fee per household with a half price sticker for seniors. Seniors being anyone who is over 65 years old as of January 1st of a calendar year. And also a $0 sticker for folks who are qualified through the Elderly and Disabled Tax Fund. So my proposal is to start it on January 1st. All residents would need a sticker to use the transfer station. It would be valid for a calendar year. There's still some work to be done in terms of the implementation and operational details and where stickers would be sold. But I am happy to hear from everybody on the board as to what their thoughts are, and then see if we can take a vote on this.
So Kate, per household, so $50, and if you have 2 cars, you get 2 stickers, or you get 1 sticker and you can only use 1 car.
So my proposal is each household will receive stickers for 2 vehicles unless they only have 1 vehicle, because we wouldn't want somebody taking an extra sticker and giving it to somebody else. So no more than 2 stickers per household. Any other discussion on it?
What is gonna, the same could apply if they have 2 vehicles, they get 2 stickers, but they could give the 1 sticker to their neighbor and have 2 households using the same sticker.
I think part of the implementation there would likely be that the stickers would have license plate numbers.
Okay.
Like usually, I think, you know, a lot of the stickers that I see have, you know, you in a magic marker, you write the license plate number of the vehicle it's associated with. So that we'd be able to prevent that. But, you know, I think that would be an implementation thing for Marie and the transfer station committee to work on implementing.
And Marie, if you started at a more nominal fee, what would be the timeline where you would get that fee up to where it would move the needle on the closing the revenue gap?
What I would do is after 1 year assess based on the tonnage that we're seeing and the count of cars. But to see if we're actually moving closer to breaking even. I can't say right now how many households are using the transfer station.
Well, we have, don't we have records of the people using trash pickup?
We do.
And
you would think it's solving for X, but it's not quite.
Yeah, but that gives us a rough idea, correct? Okay.
How many of them are seniors? But I do hear the underlying question of, would we be moving towards sustainability? I am all in terms of, moving to something which is more sustainable. I think it's just a question of speed as well as, will there always be a subsidy as a service for the town? That's a select board decision.
Thanks, Marie. Hey, Kate, since you flagged that this is an area of disagreement between you and Marie, could I just take a crack at just putting into words what I think the two opposing views are, and you can let me know if I've captured it correctly?
Sure.
So, Marie, my understanding is, at least for the first year, the reason why you are in favor of sort of a more nominal fee that in theory would then capture as many people using because they'll pay for it. It in your mind, it fills in a data gap that we have right now about who's using the transfer station.
Using the train.
Is that the main driver of your wanting to have the first year be set at a nominal like $10 fee across the board? Is that the main thing?
It's a combination, although I'd stated to the select board tonight to vote the implementation date, vote the amount, and administratively, we will make it happen. I think that variations or splitting different parameters will be trickier to implement. And although we're committed to doing what the select board wants, we also have our own limitations of infrastructure here.
Okay. And then Kate, yours is mainly around moving not just in a year, but as soon as possible toward like cost recovery.
Well, I mean, I think it's something we've been talking about at the select board for over a year now, and we voted on it for $100 sticker last February. I don't see the lack of data as precluding us from narrowing the deficit here because I see them as mutually exclusive issues. I don't think that a $50 fee per household is going to close the gap entirely, but I know it's not going to overshoot either, based on the number of households that use it. And, I just think that there's been an expectation, it certainly in my head, that we were going to be doing this sooner rather than later. And I don't see the benefit to waiting to collect the fees. And also I see an issue with starting out low and then having to do a major adjustment next year that we already know it's going to be there. So I know a $50 fee is going to be painful and unpopular with some people, but I don't see a benefit to doing $10 this year and $50 or $75 next year and having to ratchet significantly in a year.
Okay, thank you.
So, Kate, do you see the $50 fee being the fee for 2, 3, 4 years as we get more data in and see where we are?
I suspect it should be revised next year or the year after once we do have more data about exactly how many people are using it. So we can, do math to see what the gap is and, have a discussion as to whether we want to close it entirely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think $50 is a fair starting point. You know, whether we adjust it next year or the year after, you know, is up for discussion, but. Any other discussion? Does anyone want to make a motion? Okay, then I will make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 27 transfer station annual sticker rollout as set forth in the document on the screen, with a $50 fee for households, $25 fee for seniors, and a $0 fee for qualified for people qualified by the Elderly and Disabled Tax Fund.
I second that.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and I am also a yes.
Stop
Okay.
share.
What's that?
I'm stopping sharing.
Okay, thank you. All right. The last thing, because I am going to punt on the minutes review because I have not had a chance to review what Jenny sent out earlier this week. So the last item on our regular agenda, is there a motion to approve bills and payroll warrants W26-17?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Okay, and is there a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for purpose 3, to conduct strategy with respect to the collective bargaining or litigation with the police union, as I declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and I so declare. And also for purpose 2, to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, the police chief, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I've been trying to raise my hand for a while, but I'm joining from the web app, which doesn't allow me to do that apparently. With all of these discussions that have been front and center today, so we heard from Parks and Rec, obviously on the need to collect fees. We just heard from the transfer station, the report out, need to collect fees. My heart goes out to the folks in Century Mills who've been seemingly kicked around for a long time on this issue of the roads being accepted. And, there's some substantial charges now, I'm assuming, that are expected to be paid.
Mr. Ballard, I am just going to stop you right there, and
I'm just going to ask, where do we stand? Where do we stand on the back tax
Mr.
collection?
Ballard, I am chairing this meeting. I am going to allow you 2 minutes for a public comment, even though it is out of order and out of time for public comment. But I will give you 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. I just want to ask, where do we stand on the back taxes collection? I'm very aware that the developer in Century Mills owes the town a ton of money and has there's several parcels I know that are under tax taking. And where do we stand on that as a revenue creation? I mean, all of these nickel and dime things can be paid by collecting those back taxes. So I'm just asking for a report out at some point. Doesn't have to be today, but it would be nice to see where we stand on all of this.
Okay, I appreciate your comment, and I expect that we will get something out on that. Okay, back to the motion.
When will that be?
Within the next few weeks, I would imagine. I would have to ask the town administrator and the tax collector.
So at the next select board meeting?
Probably not at the next select board meeting, but probably one maybe later in March, we can ask for a report. Okay, I'm going to move back to my motion. Is there a motion to enter into executive session as set forth previously?
So moved.
Second that.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
And I am also a yes, and we will be returning to open session only for the purpose of adjournment. And the time for the record is 8:59.
Okay, I will now be right-clicking folks out of the meeting. Or you can leave.